And then another one was like, sir, when are you going to give us our quiz marks back? It's like, okay, at the end of the period. 5 minutes later, I see a piece of paper circulating around. I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to leave it be. Another 5 minutes later, kid comes up, says, sir, as you know, we live in a democratic society. Here's a paper with everyone else's signature. We'd like to get our tests back. So I said, this is what I think of your democracy. And I crunch up the paper and I rip it like this and I throw it in the garbage. And I just look at the kid. I'm like, you okay now? And she was like, went back to sit down. And my mentor teacher thought it was hilarious what I did. So she was okay with it. But
so today I really want to talk about our block placements. And for those of you who don't know, our block placements are essentially something that every teacher candidate needs to complete. And it is a block of anywhere between 2 and 5 weeks where you go into the classroom and you teach every single day. You prep all the materials, you take attendance, you do all the job of a teacher for that block. So today with Alex and David here, we just want to break down what our block placements were like in our practicum. So with that said, I guess, Alex, why don't you take it away? What was your block placement like? How did it go? Tell us.
Man, this past week was a lot of fun because of the nature of the week prior. I wasn't able to do the quiz that I wanted to on the Friday like I initially planned. So I had the kids do one quiz Monday, went through an entire chapter this past week, and then the final quiz on Friday. So that was very fast paced, but overall it was fun. Like I mentioned in previous podcasts and off camera, I really enjoy the class. Try to make it, obviously science is like a serious subject and requires attention and care when teaching it, but I want to make it as fun as possible as well. So we would joke around a little bit. I would hang out with the kids sometimes at lunchtime, and they would tell me all kinds of stuff about, what they do outside of school and, this and that. And I really enjoy listening to that. So that part of the block placement I really liked, just kind of seeing what they're like outside of the confines of a 75 or 45 or whatever it is minute class.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in terms of the full 2 weeks, it didn't go how I planned. And there were a lot of testing stuff going on, teachers trying to get last minute evaluations in terms of giving kids their final mark. A cool tidbit though, and I'll finish off to let you guys speak, was that the head of the basketball program, who graciously let me head coach this year, he asked me for my input on the design for our team swag that we had to put off for a while because the season was crazy. A bunch of stuff was going on. We had provincials, and we didn't have much time to lay out the team sweaters and tracksuit and all that. So he asked me for my opinion on design, and it's going to look absolutely sick. We have the Nike logo, school logo. We're going to have it's like back-to-back region champions, and we're going to have provincial final four, something down the sleeve. I'm going to have coach on the back, and it's sick. Nice. So that was that's how I spent my Friday lunchtime, kind of designing the team swag. And the girls are going to get the same thing. They're going to get back-to-back champs. They're going to get final four, and they're going to get their names on the back. So that's going to be a lot of fun for them as well. And I always see them in the hallways, and they're always waving to me saying, "Hi, coach." So that's always nice. Just kind of when you're there for 3 days in a week or 2 days, you're kind of segmented from the rest of the week in terms of not being there Thursday, Friday. And then when you come back Monday, sometimes the kids, I don't know if they don't realize, maybe they forget that I'm not there on Friday, but they'd ask me, "Oh, on Friday we did this. Can you answer this?" I'm like, "Guys, I wasn't here on Friday. I can't help you right now." So that's one thing that I'm kind of glad about in terms of block, is that you're there for the full time. So if on Thursday they have a question about something that's happened on Monday, you can actively, answer, you can actually answer that. If something on Friday, if they're a Friday and they're like, "Oh, what are we doing next week?" Okay, you can actually say, "We're going to do this because I'm here for 10 school days straight." So that's one thing I really enjoy about the block and the concept of it in terms of getting to establish a better routine. But overall, it was a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I definitely think that the schedule of the block is really cool. I think being there for 5 days and not having that disconnect between what was on Thursday and Friday last week I wasn't here for, but somehow I need to come up with an answer for. I think it is nice to sort of have that continuous time there. The block went according to plan for me, but there was sort of a rush to get a lot of evaluations in. I think for me, the block was the first week was doing a lot of cool science. So we had a bunch of inquiry labs. We had the frog dissection in my grade 10 course. So we were doing a ton of labs. We had design your own labs for the grade 12U students and just made them go down the whole inquiry path and, figure out just a bunch of chemical reactions and factors that affect reactions and have them explore it on their own without any input from us. And I think that was really cool. And those were great evaluations to do and assessments. But then the second week was a lot of getting all the 3 classes to the same spot. So that way, when you pick up in January, it can just be, everyone's together and we can move together more as a group. The unfortunate thing is, though, obviously with that, a couple classes who were ahead had a couple days where it was like, okay, well, I guess it's a work period for you, or, do whatever you like during this class because, we just need to stay caught up with the other class now. But that wasn't bad. I think, though, for me, my favorite part of the block was the last day of school, because I don't know how many of you have seen, I've been posting shorts on my channel for Vlogmas leading up to Christmas there. I'm posting one a day. And my students gave me a ton of gifts and cards, and it was just a really nice goodbye because I'm moving to a different school in January, which we'll talk about in a separate podcast coming up. But yeah, that was sort of my experience. I know we've been talking between Alex and I for a little bit, so David, I'm deferring to you. Talk about whatever you like. Go for it.
Yeah, block was fun. I mean, I had a very different experience because I kind of started my block a little early in terms of teaching the material, because I'm sharing I was sharing a classroom with another student teacher, also in our final block. So we were kind of rotating back and forth on different days. So maybe I would teach Monday, she taught Tuesday, and then I would teach Wednesday, and so on. And kind of just co-planning, co-creating, just doing everything together. She had some evaluations from her facilitator. I had some evaluations by my mentor teacher. So it was a little bit chaotic, but it all worked out pretty well. Being there 5 days a week was definitely nice, just because, students have questions to ask. You teach a lesson on Wednesday, and then you're not there Thursday. You're not there to answer the questions before the block. And then you're playing catch up all the time, kind of, oh, what did they do on Friday? What did they do on Thursday? What do I need to cover next week? So there's just a lot that goes into, I guess, teaching when you're not there every day. I think similar to what Jeff said as well, on my second week of block, there was a lot of assessment. I know a lot of students were very anxious. They were showing me, look at all these assessments that I have. And there was like a huge list of CPTs and tests. And I mean, all I could tell them was just, do your best, get some sleep. We're almost there. We're almost at the break. All we can ask is, do your best and put your best work forward.
Yeah, no, and honestly, like, I think a lot of students were very stressed going into the holiday break. I think there was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of teachers trying to get last minute tests in, and I think it did take a toll on them. So I'm really hoping that the next couple of weeks are just a good opportunity for them to obviously relax. I know at our school, what we were doing is we gave them a bunch of assessments and said, like, look, like, this is all the assessments you have to do up until the end of the term. If you want to get ahead and finish some of them over the breaks, that way you don't have to worry about them in the new year, you can. However, it's not mandatory. You'll get time in the new year to work on it. We also have a lot of assessments that are outstanding from some of our students with IEPs. And what we decided to do for that was, again, hey, try to get some of them done over the break if they've been outstanding since like November. That way you don't have to sort of submit everything in one big rush leading up to the end of January. But one thing I want to ask you, and this is just sort of going off, we just had a 2-week block. What do you two think our 5-week block is going to be like in April and May? I know that's a long time and we're in different classrooms, but how are you feeling about it?
That's going to be, I might have to bring a mattress into my car with me. I have absolutely no idea. You can see I'm already rubbing my eyes out of the anxiety of it. It's obviously, it's good prep, for what the real job's going to be like, because we are kind of, or at least my broadcast facilitator has been excellent to me, and she really helps us out, makes sure that we have, everything on time and so on and so forth. But it's definitely going to be the final leg of this kind of like 2-year process, and the first real wake up call to see, it's like, all right, are you made for this? Like, can you handle the 6:30 every day? Can you handle the getting home at 5 p.m. every day? Can you handle pretty much carrying the load of this stuff for a month plus by yourself, because that's what it's going to be like. I know a couple of people who graduated last year who said that some of their peers and some of their friends actually realized during that 5 week that they want to do something else for a few years, or maybe they want to do a master's before they go back into teaching again, because it was really difficult for them. So I'm excited. Obviously, a healthy amount of anxiety is, I think, warranted and good, because it's a pressure situation, because you want to do well. Obviously, you're being evaluated on it by practical facilitator, admin, and so on and so forth. But, enjoy it as well, right?
Yeah. And David, did I see your hand there, or you want me to
Yeah.
share? Okay, you go first, and then
so-
I'll wrap the podcast up after my thoughts.
Yeah, so similar to Alex, a little bit anxiety, excited. I know my courses already, which is going to be interesting because they're 3 completely different courses. So there will be a lot more prep, a lot more kind of planning, just really adapting to my students, because it's all about, there's different streams that you teach to a different kind of, I guess, level at times, where you need to go a lot more in depth or leave a lot more exploration for some students.
So I think what's going to be really interesting about our 5 week block placement, and this is somewhat of the issue I had with my 2 week block placement that we just went through, is it wasn't the prep for school that sort of wore me out. It was all the stuff that we had to do for the university. So we had to do all these separate planning requirements and all these separate assessment building and portfolio making and all that while we were sort of doing our block placement. And it would mean that I would do my block placement, I'd come home, I'd prep for an hour or two, and then in the last 3 hours of the night, I would have to make my portfolio. I would have to start doing all these planning requirements that York wants that don't match up with what my school or what my mentor teacher want. So I'm interested to see what that's going to look like for a 5 week block. Because obviously I acknowledge that at that time, we're going to be having job applications and interviews and everything, which I can only imagine to be stressful. So that's going to be a big thing that comes up. But then also, I think what's going to be interesting, and I think the one little twist on this that I'm hoping for, is when are we going to get our temporary licenses from the college? They've recently announced that we're going to be getting temporary licenses in the new year, providing that we have met certain requirements, which we don't know yet. Realistically, I think we'll probably get them in April or maybe May, which might be coming around our block placement. But with those temporary licenses, it means we can start applying for jobs and getting hired, even though we aren't on our block placement yet. And then whatever we work for, like whether it's a supply teacher or an LTO, that counts towards our practicum days, which might mean that our block placement gets somewhat interrupted. And I'm not entirely sure how that's going to go yet, because for me personally, I would prioritize supply teaching and LTOing over, and getting paid for that, obviously, and getting experience and meeting principals and teachers and everything, and sort of gathering more references. I would obviously take that over a block placement, but we don't know what that's going to look like yet. So what I'm going to do is I'll stop talking there and I will pass it back to David, and then I'll give Alex if you want to chime in after David, and then I think we'll cut the podcast there because we've been going for a little bit. So yeah, David, if I'm just going to defer back to you if you remember your point.
Yeah, I finally remembered my point. So it was a little bit about advice, not just for during the block, but for your placement in general. Because during my block, I had a couple of supply teachers for some of our, I guess, review days. And just connecting with them and talking with them, I talked a lot about interview processes, and we talked a lot about like keywords, buzzwords, kind of just categories for interviews, how to, I guess, get that final job or supply list occasional teacher spot. So just, make connections with whoever you can while you're at the school, just to kind of, I guess, get more information about, the future and your teaching profession and career. Like they were also telling me about, some things to do as a supply teacher, because you might not know the students at all when you're supplying at a new school, just like kind of activities in case there might not be many lesson plans, or there might not be a lot to do for that day. So just little pieces of advice for the future.
Yeah, and I'll just wrap it up. Obviously, you guys made great points. The block's going to be exciting. There'll be a lot of stuff going on. But I also want to touch upon a point or a key word that's important for our field, and that's reflection. What you make adjust, and it's something that will obviously become maybe not experts at necessarily, but something we're going to improve upon a lot over our careers is reflecting, mid-lesson. Okay, did it work what I just did 15 minutes ago? I'm not going to do it for my next period. I'm not going to do the same thing tomorrow. Or how was this past week? How was this past 2 weeks? And so I think reflection is also important because it allows us to ground ourselves and make sure that we're doing, obviously we have to do right by the students and all, everything on that end. We also have to do right by ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point to wrap it up on. So with that said, I hope you're all enjoying. I hope you've been enjoying the podcasts. Obviously, we got into some pretty cool topics today and talking about our practicum and our block placements and just what the expectations are for teacher candidates as we go through our program. So I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more like it, please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any topics you want to talk about or you want us to talk about on the podcast, just comment them down below. So with that said, I hope you all have a great day. Please stay happy, safe, and healthy, and we'll see you all around next time. Enjoy, everyone, and have fun. See ya.